The thing is, like, people can't, like, so people, a lot of people don't know my real name, and like if they want to go on social media to look for it, those on Facebook probably would never know my real name. My Facebook name is it's like the weirdest name ever. So 2 years ago, the first lockdown in Malaysia was March 2020.
Yep.
So before that, I was doing full-time job as a social media manager, content slash copywriter. For 6 months, I quit that job and I went to direct sales because I was very tight on finances. So I had to get something, right? So I was offered 2 jobs. One is a very secure job, a copywriter with a very decent salary. And one is direct sales that is 100% commission. So if I don't make any sales that day, I'm not getting any money.
Yeah, and no money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Nightfall with Dadum and Dash. And today, our guest is going to be a multi-title shoutcaster who has been around for years. Probably saw him around in the VCTs, WCS, ESL, the Legends circuit. I mean, he's been around. And Dash, name a competitive title. He probably casts it. And, let's welcome our guest, please. HusKKie.
Hey.
HusKKie, welcome to the show. Welcome
Thank you for having me. Well, it's great to be here. I can give you one competitive title that I have not shoutcasted. And that title is a Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty surprising, right? Because I think a lot of people assume that I have done that simply because I've done so many titles. But no, I've not done CSGO before. I've hardly even played that game because I think my first FPS was Overwatch.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's where I started FPS. Yeah, I'm a mobile guy, so CSGO is not on the list.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was surprised though. Like you started with Overwatch, right? And is it a kind of a big scene in SG and SG? Yeah.
Well, I started. My first FPS was Overwatch, but my first the first title I casted was League of Legends. That time it was like, 2017.
Yeah.
So like I think Dadum mentioned the Legend circuit, right? So I started on the Legend circuit 2017 summer. So that was around, I think, towards the end of May. May 31st, yeah. So May 31st was day one of TLC Summer 2017. At that time, I think Garena Malaysia is still around. So we had your local teams, like domestic teams, like for example, KL. For Malaysia, the icon would be Kuala Lumpur Hunters. For Singapore, it will be Singapore Sentinels, and then for Thailand, it will be Bangkok Titans and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that's where I started. I think the scene, I wouldn't say is really big, at least not in NYSG. But there's a very dedicated player base. There's a very dedicated fan base that loves playing the game and enjoys competing. Yeah. But obviously, we know how that went, as time went on. But at that time when I joined, it was a very good, I would say it was probably the peak, or at least we are in the midst of the peak of the local scene.
Yeah. So you started in League as a caster, right? But what we want to know is, I feel like a lot of the people know HusKKie as HusKKie, but not really a lot knows HusKKie as who he was before he was in esports, or who he is outside of esports.
I'll tell you one thing. A lot of people don't even know my real name because people are just so used to calling me by my handle, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't even know my real name.
Yeah.
Actually, me too.
I have a feeling you guys don't know
I just know HusKKie's name is Brian because Otto Lewis is Brian and HusKKie is Brian. But
Brian.
Exactly. Yeah. So Kobe Bryant, that Bryant. The thing is, like, people can't, like, so people. A lot of people don't know my real name, and like if they want to go on social media to look for it, those on Facebook probably would never know my real name. My Facebook name is it's like the weirdest name ever. So there's a story behind that, right? My Facebook name was a nickname that my friend gave me randomly in primary school. So around, I think the primary school for us is like 7 to 12 years old. That's where we go primary school. I forgot at what age, but at one point I just got that nickname and it stuck with me. So it actually goes deeper. There's a rabbit hole to it. So
Yeah, let's go into it.
In Malaysia at least, we're a multicultural country, right? But at least amongst us Chinese, when we call other people, sometimes we don't use like their full name. We don't. For example, people call me like Ah Chuan, for example, right? I have friends that I call them like Ah Sam, Ah Guan, so on and so forth. You get the idea. So the Ah is kind of like how you address people, like how you call people that you are close to, kind of like a nickname-ish. So that's the origin of the first part of my Facebook name. Actually, me and my friends, we all use that, the AH, as the first name for Facebook name.
Cute.
The second part is the interesting one. So due to genetics, I have gray hair at a very young age. And when we were still kids, yeah, I have a lot of gray hair. So people associate gray hair with age, right?
Right.
A guy with gray hair means that you're a dad or a granddad, and
An uncle.
And in Mandarin, father is called Baba. So that's how I got Baba, and Chuan is my last name. So there you have it. That's my Facebook name.
So you translated, your name is literally Daddy Chuan.
Yes. So my friends would call me Baba in front of my parents. Like when they come over to my house, they would call me that. Even right now, like at this age, when we meet, they still call me that. I think that's the craziest thing. So this thing has been so like my friends have been calling me daddy for more than a decade. So I went from being a predator to someone who just has weird kinks because everyone calls me daddy.
I'm gonna
If you think about it that way,
I'm gonna start calling Husky Daddy Chuan from here on out. But yeah, so. Talk to us about how, or during that time, you said 2017 was when you got into the scene really, and it was League. Yeah. But at the time, what were you doing? Like, were you in college? Were you in high school? Or
I was
what
in college.
Yeah.
I was doing my degree, so with my degree in mass communication. Ooh. I think it was probably like halfway through the whole course. So I think like sem 2 or 3. I don't remember, right?
I have a question though before we follow through. Mass communication, does that help in what you do right now? The course, did it help?
I think it does. I think it does to a certain extent. So I was fortunate enough to have learned some things before I even started the course. Like I did video editing in high school and all that. But I think the course generally teaches us, I think production stuff. So I think there's a lot of production stuff. It teaches us things about like the gun chart, production flow. So I think that general knowledge is pretty helpful. But a lot of things I had to pick up on the go. And at the time, I was also I was very actively involved in a lot of clubs and society. So I was involved in Toastmasters, if you guys heard of that.
What's Toastmasters?
So Toastmasters is an international public speaking club. So they're all around the world. Yeah,
check it out. And wow. Wow.
You gotta pay to join. It's not cheap, but I think it's worth it because they have speakers ranging from amateur to very experienced, and they actually teach you how to speak publicly, right? So present yourself. So they have modules and all. They have the basic module, and then when you complete that, they have advanced modules, so on and so forth. I think that also helped me. But I was studying at the time. Yeah, I think it was my first or second sem. I got the email from Garena because they had this application where they were looking for casters, or they were looking for people who want to become casters at that time. So they would provide training. Obviously, there were some requirements, and at the time, I think the requirement to join is that you have to be at least, I think, platinum in your rank. In
league.
Oh, yeah. And I hit platinum that season. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. 2017. 2017. Yeah. I think it's plat.
Yeah, these were the
So,
days where. Sorry, Husky, continue.
Yeah, it was a good day. I get what you mean. It was a good days where I think like I was I was going to the cyber cafe a lot.
Yeah, now that you mentioned cyber cafe, that was my point. Because around that time was around the same time that Dash and I we went to the same. I'm still going to the same college. Dash was in that same college.
Away. Yeah.
Right.
And around that time was when this new cyber cafe just opened up near, like right in front, like in the street just outside our uni. It's where this huge cyber cafe just opened up, and it's like what, 70 computers. So when it's
yes.
What an interesting background before that is that tell Husky our background in our school, because back in the day our university is like the whole population is like almost 80% of the population of the whole place, or like the whole street,
the whole city,
Right.
Yeah, so essentially
that's an interesting place.
Yeah,
right?
essentially imagine a whole city. Like not just in the uni, but out around the university, people, almost everyone you encounter is a student. And then this cyber cafe opens up, and so you can imagine that every Friday night, or not even just Friday nights, even every night, it's filled to the brim.
Weekday.
It's filled to the brim with people, with students, and well, Dash and I, as League fanboys, we went there every day.
That was me. So, like, the area that I was studying, the cyber cafe. So I stayed in a dorm, right? Because I came from a different state. I think for you guys, it's kind of like a different province, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to go out of state to study college. I stayed in a dorm, and my dorm was right beside my college. So I was the few ones who could wake up like 15 minutes before class, put on a hoodie, and just go to class.
Yeah.
But there were multiple cyber cafes with tons of PCs, and I probably been there like, so if there's 24 hours a day, I'd probably at some point in my college life been there at every single hour of the day. So I've seen how it is like in the morning, how is it like in the middle of the night. The thing about cyber cafe is that so you actually can't open past 12 a.m. So there's a law for that, I think.
Okay, interesting.
A lot of cyber cafes stay open.
24 hours most of the time.
Yeah, and the one that I go to stays open in a very cheeky manner. So they have this one front glass door, right, that you just walk in. Once 12 a.m. comes, they pull down the shutter.
Oh, that's.
And then they have this side door that you have to like press the alarm, and then they'll let you in. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Then,
that's like a secret button.
Yeah. and every time someone leaves, someone opens the door, it has this very loud alarm system that goes on. So you would know that if people are coming in, like if the door is open or not. It's crazy.
That sounds pretty cool. That sounds.
So if in the middle of the night you hear an alarm go off, that's probably the cyber cafe. Probably someone decided to either go in or leave the cyber cafe. Yeah.
I mean, what's surprising there is that it has an alarm system, right?
Yes.
Will everyone, even from outside, hear it?
Yeah.
Well, it's not super loud, but if you are around the block, you probably hear it.
I thought that it defeats the purpose if it's heard outside. People know that someone's going in, right?
Yeah, because like so those shop lots, the first floor is always shops, right? Eateries, convenience stores, cyber cafes. But from the second floor onwards, it's actually dorms. So people, there are people who like, install partitions and then turn it into individual rooms. So I stay in one of those rooms. The only bad thing is that you get no sunlight because you don't see outside, right? Like your room windows sees into the corridor. So I wouldn't know if it's raining. I wouldn't know if there's a thunderstorm. Like I wouldn't even know if it's nighttime or daytime, like because it's so dark. Yeah, so that's the environment I lived in. But so I was saying when Garena put out that notice, I registered and I was like, I hit plat, I can try it out. And I had no idea what to expect. And one day, I believe it was a Thursday, I just finished my Toastmasters session. I was walking, I was trying to wait for my grab. I was ordering my grab, basically. And then an email came in. And the email was basically, congratulations, you've been selected. Here are the here are the dates, like when you attend, here's what we're gonna go through, something yada yada yada. And I remember like I was walking down the courtyard of one of the universities I was in, because that's Toastmasters happen in different universities. I don't have to just attend the one that I'm in. I can go to the ones in other unis.
Ooh.
And I was like,
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
I was like low-key jumping for joy, but I was out in public, right? So I was like, I can't do it. Can't do it. It's so awkward. Can't do it. But I was really happy.
Holding it in.
Yeah, I was holding it in.
Yeah.
And the next day, I think either it was a week after or like the next day or something. It was on a Friday. Friday or Saturday, something like that. I think it was a Saturday, and I went for it. And that's where I met Contra and Gideon. It was supposed to be 8 sessions and 2 sessions per weekend, and we were taught by this League of Legends coach. I think he is not a coach anymore, but he was this guy called Crow. Was a KLH coach, and then he went to CB Law for a while. Yeah, so he taught us.
Okay.
Yes, and I think towards the very end. So the plan was after the last session, you have a mock cast, right? It's called an evaluation, I think, to see if you are good enough to be on camera. Like if you pass, then good, you can go ahead. If you're not, then they'll probably give you more training, I guess. But the funny thing is, when we approached that point, TLC summer was about to start.
Oh.
And they needed people.
Oh.
Perfect.
And they called us up and they were like, so TLC summer is about to begin. Would you like to do it? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I was in the library, I remember. I was prepping for an exam or something. And I walked out. I took the call and I was like, yes, of course I'll do it. So in the middle of our training, so I think it was like third or fourth session, we would go to the training or something. And then after that, we will go live. So that was how we started. We basically trial by fire.
How long was the sessions?
I think 2 hours per day. I think.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember, but we had some really interesting practical practices that helped us. But we were thrown in trial by fire, and May 31st, 2017 was the first cast. I remember I did the very last game of the day, so it was like 10, 11 p.m. Yeah, but it was really fun. I think it was a great way to jumpstart everything, because I think all of us were doing it just because we liked it.
So that
and we wanted to try it out.
So that was your very first broadcast, and it was already TLC.
Yes, that was my very first broadcast.
Oh my
I think I think the good thing about us, me and the rest, is that we had a foundation. I think Garena was really supportive. Up to the day that they closed down, very supportive of us. Even when the scene was dying, and then when Garena Malaysia was closing down, I think they foresaw that, right? They foresaw that things might change, because of budgets and all, priorities shifted, and they actually gave us, I wouldn't say a way out, but they gave us alternatives. So they got us into Free Fire. They let us try Arena of Valor. So
Arena games.
So in the event that League of Legends somehow dies down, we have somewhere to go to, right? They don't want to just let us go like that. I think that's very nice of them. We worked with a very experienced and very friendly production crew. Yeah. And a lot of them are actually still around in different companies. Some of them are in ASL, some of them are in Mineski. But yeah, overall, every once in a while. It's a very rare occasion, but when I meet them, I try to talk to them as much as possible, because everyone is very busy, right? Like some of them are production guys, some of them are probably doing business development, but they're all around. I think that's the thing that makes me realize that, oh my god, time flies. Like 5 years ago, we were in the same company, and right now that we're everywhere. But everywhere I go, I see some of them around. Some of them are in VSPN. I think there's some in IO as well. Basically, you get the full generation of ex-Garena and white people everywhere.
It's pretty interesting, because I'm seeing a trend where people or casters generally start during college, right? And then they progress towards the higher sort of parts of casting, the higher tiers of casting as they go and finish college, and then they decide, should they
They're
pursue
gonna go for
esports or am I going to go for my course instead? Like, so what
Right.
was that decision like for you? Or was there even one? Because you were part of the Garena
There-
thing.
There is. So I think when I first started doing it, obviously it's just because I wanted to try it, and it's something that
Yeah.
I do enjoy. And
Yeah, video
I think
games, you know.
it's video games, right? So so I think after TLC, so TLC was the second last official circuit that we had, right? Our last one was called LCM, League of Legends Championship Malaysia 2018. That was like the very last one, and I remember while they were planning for it, they actually gave me a contract to be in Garena for 6 months just for that. I think like my official title is game operations or something. I'm not really sure, but I think that's where I really got to explore a lot of things. I think interviewing, I was writing articles about team features. I was doing a lot of. So I don't know if you guys remember back then. I think EULCS, they love to do all these play-by-play breakdown where they have this champion that highlighted and then they have all the skills, all the skill that will cycle through all the After Effects stuff. Yeah, so we were doing that as well, and I was helping out with that. And my goal at that time was to give the players and the teams personalities instead of them just being robots that play games.
Yeah.
I wanted to, push them into the community. Sadly, I think what I didn't account for was a lot of people don't like reading. So my articles, people still read it, but I think it didn't achieve the reach that I wanted it to. But I still enjoy writing about those guys. I still enjoy talking to them a lot. And also, I think at that time, the numbers of the community was already dwindling, and there were a lot of other factors. Like for example, we're not winning any regional tournaments, so like year after year it gets worse. Some people lose trust, right? And of course, players, they also burn out. But after LCM, that's where things really started to change. And even while that was going on, we were already given opportunities to do like AOV and all that. And when LCM finished, there was no more official league circuit, I think, everywhere. Maybe except for Vietnam, right? Because now it's called VCS. And recently, like 2 years ago, we got PCS. But at that time, Garena, I think they were laying off people and all.
Yeah.
And eventually it closed down, so we waved goodbye to Garena. Yeah, and also around that time, I was getting ready to graduate. So, of course, my parents were like, you don't need to worry about money right now. We can provide for you. Just focus on your studies, get good grades. But for me, I was like, no, I think I'm very invested. I spent 1 year building up my career, and I want to focus on it. My plan was to finish degree and go to study masters in UK, but I dropped that idea because I really wanted to continue this, and I don't really fancy the thought of like leaving for 2 years and coming back.
Yeah.
Like even though there's probably a place for me, I don't want that. So back and forth with my family, and eventually they accepted it, and it was not until last year that I decided to go full time into this. And not last year, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, so the first lockdown in Malaysia was March 2020.
Yep.
So before that, I was doing full-time job as a social media manager, content / copywriter for 6 months. I quit that job and I went to direct sales because I was very tight on finances, so I had to get something, right? So I was offered 2 jobs. One is a very secure job, a copywriter with a very decent salary, and one is direct sales that is 100% commission. So if I don't make any sales that day, I'm not getting any money.
Yeah, and no money.
Yeah.
Guess what I picked? Direct sales. Because I was like, I wanted to try something new, right? I could have sat there, write stuff and get money, but I think I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try, I wanted to learn new stuff, get out of my comfort zone. So I went for direct sales, and 1 month in I quit because I really couldn't do it. It's not my thing. The people were nice, but the job is not for me. And that's where the lockdown started. Right after I quit, we went into lockdown, and I was like, what do I do now? I don't have money. I don't have much money to my name. But it's a lockdown. I just got my PC like a few months ago. You know what? I'll take a gamble. I'll go full-time casting. And I did it. And the gig I got afterwards was, I think, MPL. And I got the one Esports Dota 2 C League and PMPL. So everything went off really well, and till today I'm still doing it full time. So I think I'm very, very blessed.
Well, so that brings me to my next question then. Do you think you would have still pursued esports as a full-time career if it wasn't for the lockdown?
I think I would have always had that consideration. Just that I think because of the lockdown, I had to make a choice, right?
Yeah.
And I was taking like really bad gambles, if I could call it that. But even without the lockdown, I'm pretty sure I would still pursue it, but maybe not as decisive as I would have been. I would probably be looking for other jobs on the side because I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm glad that the lockdown happened.
I feel like
because if it's not for this, I probably will go into broadcast. Because the plan was that I finish my studies and I'll be a radio DJ, or I'll do production in a radio station, something something related to broadcast. Yeah, that's probably where I'll go.
I think most of the people that are, honestly, there's a lot of, if I may say, like lockdown caster babies.
Yeah, that's me. That's me right there.
That's me too, honestly. That's me too. That's when I also started casting. I don't know, man. There has been, I don't know why all the opportunities came out when the lockdown punched in. Probably because everybody's finding entertainment, right? And also there's really nothing to do outside because you really can't go outside because of the lockdown. And that's why almost a lot of people really went into casting. It's like there's a surge of casters after the lockdown just punched through.
Is that the same
I think it's
for
the
Malaysia,
same
though?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have a lot. But the interesting thing is, so majority of the demographic in Malaysia are Malays. I think, are Malays. 70%. I don't know the exact figures, but that they are the majority, right? So that means that Malay language broadcast, the Bahasa broadcast, is highly viewed because of the demographic itself. So there were a lot of Bahasa casters popping up left, right, and center. And some of them are actually really successful right now, or at least are on their way to being that. But for English casters, that's where we run into some problems because we actually don't have much English casters. At least those who are active. And we hardly get any new ones or people who want to try. Or there are some people who try, but because it's not a full-time thing for them, because it's just something on the side, you don't see them often. Even right now, we don't get much of people wanting to try out, and it's understandable, right? Because if you're in Malaysia and there's a tournament going on and there's English and BM broadcasts, obviously the viewership is going to go to the Bahasa side. So there's like this very weird priority for English casters that some of us would be like, you know what, local viewership, not a big deal. What we have an advantage over if we get there is that regional events, something that's where the international audience comes in. For the Bahasa casters, they also get to do their cast in Bahasa. They get the live feed. And it caters to the local demographic. So it's kind of like a win-win situation. But yeah, I think the state for us is just that we don't have enough English casters, or there's a very less of us.
I don't know if it's the same thing in the PH.
I think it depends on the game because, for example, in Valorant, there's plenty of English casters. So much that we have quite a few to spare. There's a lot of good casters in Valorant. But for something like MPL, I feel like what Coach Leo from MPL keeps on saying sometimes. He says there's a need for English casters for MLBB in particular, but it's interesting because there's not really that problem in other titles like in Valorant. And how about in Wild Rift? Is there a problem like that in Wild Rift? Huge.
I think for English casters there is, I wouldn't say a problem. I just think that we have there's lesser of us compared to the Bahasa casters. So even when you look at Wild Rift, we actually get a full roster. But some of them probably don't do this full time, so you might see them for a while, you might not see them for other tournaments. I think some of them are still studying, so it really depends. I don't know if I should say this. I feel like if this goes out, like people are gonna chop my head off. But just to give you guys some context, I think casters, we do have casters, but quality ones, I think that's where you start to see the line in the sand, right? Because if you want good ones, you want quality ones. I'm not saying I'm the best. I think I have a lot to learn, but if we want quality ones, that's where people will start to pick and choose. And if we pick and choose, that's where the numbers kind of decrease a bit. But if we just want people to fill in the number, we actually have enough. I think that's the state we're in right now. But I don't blame those people. I think some of them just because this is not their main thing. So there's lesser focus, right? It's lesser focus. So it's harder to get them on the same page as us, like in terms of like doing prep and all. It's definitely a struggle, and it can be frustrating, but that's just how it is. Everyone has their own choices.
It is what it is. But speaking of casting and the esports scene in general, let's dial it back a little bit and talk about the moment where you got hooked into esports. Like, what was that one or tournament or event or whatever that got you into like, whoa, this is interesting. This is something that I want to watch or potentially get into in the future.
So I remember this vividly. I was 15 years old, 2013.
Okay.
2013. TI3 Grand Final, Navi against Alliance. That was the tournament I remember watching. So the thing is, where I came from a small town in a different state, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know anything about esports.
So it's kind of like
gaming is just a hobby.
It's a rural area, would you say?
Yeah, it's a rural area. So there's no such thing as esports. Gaming is just for fun. The cyber cafes are pretty, run down. Because we just play games for fun, right? So by that time I was a huge Dota fan. Warcraft era. So I was looking up on guys. I was watching a lot of videos. That time it's like War Dota, the We Are Elected theme song.
That's Asian.
Yeah, and then there's the WCG, the World Cyber Games. Dota 1, and then China is the strongest region. I think at that time. I think the team that won the one that I watched was Nirvana China, Nirvana CN, and there's like players like Banana Joe. So it was very, very old times. But I watched TI3 and I was like, this looks very fun. Fun in the sense that it's very interesting. Like I enjoy the cast a lot. I enjoy the energy. And I'm someone that really loves to perform, to speak. Like I was very active in school. So I thought to myself, maybe one day I'll do this. Like maybe the chance will roll around. But it never crossed my mind that it would happen in college, right? Because it was just a fleeting thought.
Right.
Yeah, but it was never like, I want to do this, so I'm going to pursue this from here.
It's not like, when I grow up, I'm going to do this.
Side quest. If ever comes to it, I'll finish it, right?
Like if it happens, right? If God wills it, then I'll do it. But there was never a point where I'm like, right, I no matter what happens, by hook or by crook, I have to do it. I have to cast. It was never like that. So the fact that it happened, I think it was quite coincidence. I think I'm just very lucky. Yeah. But TI3 was the one that got me really interested into trying out casting.
I want to know too what Dadum's what do I call this? That moment too for Dadum, because I didn't know. Even as a friend of Dadum for a long time, I don't know.
Yeah, because we were talking about this off broadcast earlier too, V and Dash, and he said something very, very similar to what you said, Husky. It's super specific. He was saying,
I'll say it.
Yeah,
I'll say it later.
Yeah, and for me, it's a little bit more weird because I don't remember when I started getting into esports. Because as far as I remember, so I started playing. Well, technically, I've been playing games ever since I can remember. Like back in the day, when I was like, I don't know, 8 years old, I would play in my dad's office computer, like Y8, Y3, if you even have that, if that was ever a thing in Malaysia.
I do. Like, so my dad used to run a cyber cafe. That's how I got into video games.
Yeah.
So my dad.
Actually, me too. My dad runs a computer.
Basically,
so the first game I played was Age of Empires. That was the very first game I got into, so it has a very special place in my heart. Age of Empires.
Oh, okay, I remember. Yeah.
So Age of Empires 1, 2, 3, and now 4 is out.
Yeah.
There's this one more like army game that I don't know what the name was.
Yeah.
Definitely not Halo nor Call of Duty, but it's something like a wartime game. Then there's this go-kart game that he found.
Warrock? Crossfire?
I do not remember.
You played Alert or something like that. There's a lot of what do you call those types of games before? RTS games.
So
they were the thing in computer cafes.
The very first PC game was Age of Empires, but the very first game that really like sucked me in was MapleStory. And the interesting thing is,
Oh,
So he runs a computer shop, right? So he does like repairs and services.
yeah.
So his employees play Maple Story. At least one of them play.
Maple Story.
And I remember back in the days when you want to register for an Agersoft account, you need to be of a certain age. I wasn't at that age. I can't fake it because I don't even have an identification card yet.
Yeah.
I don't even have my IC yet, right? So I would borrow his account to play. And I remember, so his account name is a cheat code from Warcraft. Greed is good.
What?
Yeah. And the class that he was playing, I think was one of the hardest class to play. It was a mage. Yeah, because at that time mages were just impossible. Like magicians are impossible to play. Like you need a patience of a Buddha to be able to train magicians because it's that rough. But it was the good era of Maple Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
So that was like how I started gaming, I guess.
Back to my story. So, yeah, I just remember being a fan of SKT at like 2016, 2017 when they had their.
You started late.
And I know because I only started getting into esports when I started playing League in 2013. Even though I've been playing for some time, I was playing Skyrim, I played a lot of GTA San Andreas when I didn't have my own PC yet. I was a cyber cafe boy, and. Yeah, so I got into esports late, but I don't remember that specific moment where I was like, whoa, this is interesting, because it's like I've always known it's existed, but for some reason I just got hooked like eventually, and then got aboard the SKT hype train, and then I never really esports was never really something that I was like I wanted to pursue. It's kind of like Husky. This is not something like, okay, I'm gonna pursue this. This is very very interesting. I'm gonna fit in like a glove. No, I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. SKT, yeah, go. But would I work there in the future? I couldn't have possibly imagined. But hey, 2020 was that it when I first casted because Huge asked me to, and here we are.
Hey,
I don't remember the exact moment, but it was definitely Worlds. It was Worlds for me. Worlds. It was 2016 or 2017.
Back in a bit of a background for Husky, Worlds was a thing in the cyber cafes that we're playing in when we were in college. Everybody watches Worlds. For some reason, everybody knows what's happening. Yeah. Even after class, and after I get back to the cyber cafe,
even during class, even during class,
I ask who won the game. They know. They tell me what happened. I was like, oh, these are my people. I love this place.
So it's the same as us. We have World's Watch Party, and so I remember the year that Samsung Galaxy won.
Season 4.
Season 4, right? The ruler, Varus, Flash R, and Faker cries and all that. So we had the watch party for the grand finals. It was in a cinema. So like they booked out the entire cinema. Well, that one specific cinema. Then they would broadcast it. And because we were still under Garena, right? And they were very nice to give us the opportunity to host the watch party. So I think there was like 4 of us. Me, Contra, Gideon, and then one guy called Sajid, Frostfire. He's not active anymore. But essentially, if you look at my Facebook cover photo, the guy with the beard, that's him. Like the 4 of us, very tight-knit gang. We started together. But obviously, he went on a different path. So we had the host. So 2 cinema halls were booked out. So we split 2 to 2, and I remember just watching Worlds. And like, I think I was asking for prediction, right? So of course everyone is like, yeah, SKT is gonna win this.
Yeah.
And then that's me. I'm like, no, SSG will win this. I like SKT, but I think it's time for a change. And then they win 3-0, and I'm like, I'm right. But I also know that if I walk out the cinema first, someone is gonna kidnap me. So you guys leave. I'll stay here. Like you guys can grieve. You guys can grieve. You guys can weep.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'm happy. I got it right.
I just let it. Just feel your emotions. Like I'm happy that SSG won, but like part of me was very sad to cry. So that was interesting.
That was also a grieving moment, right? When you saw Faker cry during those times, like, oh man, even though SSG won really well during that time. I was like, oh man, the GOAT just cried.
Yeah, I remember like that was a very defining moment because when I saw that shot, I was like, it kind of reinforced my beliefs that these players, like a lot of people don't know what these players are behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And I think like it made it feel a bit better that now I was covering all of the teams locally. Whether people are receptive to it or not, I think that's another story. But the fact that I was doing it, I was able to do it, and they were willing to talk to me, I think that is a very important moment, a very important phase of I think my early career.
I think after that, people in the media in EU and NA just started humanizing these players. That is when I think that is when they had a lot of interviews with Faker too, because that is when we knew a lot about him more. What does he feel? He's like a robot.
Yeah, exactly. Because before, I remember in those days, Faker was just a face. There was you don't even know his voice. You don't know his personality. He was just this
honestly
goat in league, and
He's just he's this very quiet kid.
Yeah.
That is just super good at the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like at a very young age, he is regarded as the best player in the world, and I still think he is right now. Even if he isn't, even let's say one day his mechanics that doesn't match up to upcoming talents. The fact that he left a legacy at such a young age, I think that's the most impressive thing. You can look at him and be like, from NA, probably Bjergsen, right, on TSM for a very long time. The difference being that Faker has won Worlds before. He's actually and he's still with SKT. I think that's kind of the main difference. You get
interesting thing though. I think Faker is a household name in South Korea.
In South Korea.
I mean, even the old people, even your mom and dad, if you're in South Korea,
as some random uncle.
knows.
You do not have to know what League of Legends is, but if anything, you will know who Faker is, right? Like, you don't watch any games, you don't play the game, you don't do anything. People say League of Legends, oh, Faker. I think that's the most impressive part of his career.
Great legacy.
Speaking of,
I forgot to say my story though. We got on a big tangent after that, but it's okay. Should I tell my story or should I not? Let's just skip it.
Yeah, just tell your story, man. Just how you got hooked into esports. Come on, we're all doing it anyway. We're all doing it.
Okay. So mine was very specific. I watched played League of Legends since season 1 before season 2 came out, and that is when I think it was first year of my high school when my friends
Years
were
ago.
like. Yeah, years ago. When the meta was still Misfortune and Varus in the bot lane, that was the peak when I started watching League of Legends competitive. I was a big EU fan back in the Fnatic versus Gambit. So that was the bomb. Every time they fight, that was the bomb. Every time.
I'm more of a copium guy because my first region was NA. So the thing is like I didn't even know that there was an esports scene. And I was someone who watched WCG, TI, and I have no idea. And it didn't cross my mind that there was a scene. So I didn't know that there were local leagues in Malaysia. I didn't know that TLZ existed. I was watching NA, and I was a huge Double Lift fan. So TSM back in the days was kind of like my go-to. But even before then, there's Dyrus, the odd
was
one,
still there,
Reginald. But obviously Reginald is he's kind of his name carries different weight right now. But that era. So I was playing Double Lift a lot, and obviously Bjergsen came in, and then like Biofrost. I think that was kind of like the golden era for TSM, at least locally.
Ignados was still strong back then. It was the time in where Scara was still there. I was man, Scara now.
But of course, I started when Hotshot GG was still playing. Hotshot GG.
Right. Remember that meme, the video? The Hotshot Needly Spear GG, that meme?
I don't remember.
I remember. Like what? Deathfire grabs, AP Scion. That was how. So I started from like season 0. I started when League first came out. I was on the receiving end of very ridiculous stuff like AP Master Yi, AP Scion,
my God,
with like
AP Master Yi.
10,000 health. the Deathfire grabs and the Wriggles lantern, like all of those.
Wriggles lantern was, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
That was
when
too
League was
OP.
still at a phase where you can do anything, and I had a friend that plays Teemo and Teemo only. And I could not understand why, but for some reason he's just winning with Teemo. And like we would post screenshots of our games on our social media, and we would talk to each other. We were like, this guy sucks. You know, like, oh my god, what is this team?
This guy's
But
trolling.
Yeah, this guy's trolling me. Like what is this? And then we were like, oh, I hate AP Master Yi, but it's either like I pick it or someone else picks it or we ban it. And if someone else picks AP Master Yi, we just like, oh right, GG. You know, like 30 minutes in, the game is over. Like we just stay in base.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those were fun times. When no one was taking it seriously, at least I wasn't taking it as seriously. It was very fun because we just play it.
Yeah.
And it was play. We just messed around.
Queue up after university, after high school, after going to school Fridays.
My favorite was
then-
definitely Twitch. I think Twitch was my favorite champion. When you can still run
Really?
Flash Ignite on Twitch.
Right.
So like it would take ambush at level 1 and then you hide in the brush. And then like, back in the days, people love to face check, right? So they just walk in and you get a first blood and you just win the lane. And that was a fun time.
my first penta was with Twitch. I remember it very specific. I didn't even know how I got the penta, and that I just pop R attack, and then I got the penta. I was like, what just happened? I didn't know what just happened. But back to my story though. I started with that with the Fnatic versus Gambit thing, and I started with esports wanting to pursue it. I wanted to be a pro player when I was with esports. I was just halfway there. I became a collegiate player. But I wasn't able to pursue professional.
These boys were crazy.
Gaming.
Oh my god, they were crazy.
Yeah, we were playing a lot of that was the reason why we were saying that we're always in the cyber cafe, because we're just practicing. We have a tournament the next day, or at least we need a community tournament to help us practice. That was a lot of things all together when I was still a collegiate player, and it was still in my mind. Then after some time, I think I was 18, I was 17. I was like, I'm getting old. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want.
I'm getting old.
No. Because when you're a player and you're like
pro player,
I can't move as I was before, and I was like,
damn it, I'm reaching 20 years old. I can't do it.
I'm so sorry. That's just how I felt. Honestly, that's just how I felt when that time came in. I was like, do I want to continue these, or do I want to go somewhere in esports too that I can do while I'm still loving the game? Not like a pro player. I don't want to play games like 12 hours, 8 hours a day, but I can do it by studying the game more. And that was when I got to shoutcast.
Yeah, and I feel like a factor of that too is because our uni wasn't really supportive of
now they are progress.
They are? Question mark? Are they?
I mean,
I think it did take a while for I think it's a natural process. Back in the days it wasn't as prevalent, so a lot of like educational institutions don't see it as a serious thing. It's the same here, though we do have at that time. I think we have one university called Asia Pacific University.
Yeah,
they were the first college to offer, I think, an esports course or something, and they have a dedicated esports team. And then we have a couple more other colleges that has that. So the two biggest esports team in League of Legends collegiate scene back then was from the Asia Pacific U and Taylor's University. So they have this long-standing rivalry. Every time there's a collegiate tournament under Garena, it's always them. I think like APO has always won. And then the year that I casted for it was the year that Taylor's beat them. And it was really interesting because like at that time when Taylor's beat them, like you can feel the rivalry. Like AP were not happy. Like, oh my god, we lost. But when you look back, I remember I looked back at the game and it was like, yeah, well, I hate to say it, but Taylor is just a better team that year.
There's always that time for esports teams in where this meta really doesn't sit well to them, or at least it's hard for them to adapt to it, and it's the reason why they are quote unquote weaker that year.
Yeah, that was a meta where Taric ult became like an invulnerability ult.
Oh man,
yeah.
Crazy stuff.
So like, yeah, and I remember the exact reason that APU lost that game, like when it happened, I knew that the game was over. Was like they were trying to contest Baron, and Tariq out was like 3-4 seconds away, and they didn't wait. They just went in without the ult, and they lost the fight. Oh my god! Yeah, obviously they were not happy when they were not happy that they lost. And I was writing like I was doing write-ups about it, right? So I mentioned that specific moment, and I remember. And that was the first time I was like, oh my goodness, esports is no joke. Like these people, like some of those people will literally go after you. Because so what I wrote was that unfortunately this player spent a lot of time dying rather than playing the game.
They're not gonna take that lightly.
So, admittedly, I could have worded it better, but the context was something like it was getting picked off a lot, right? And it was a Tariq player. And I remember like before I wrote about that Baron fight, I rewatched it a lot of times just to make sure that I get everything right. And the article got published, and the next day I heard from my supervisor that they were trying to sue me for defamation. And I was like, what? I was like, what? Like, what did I do? And they're like, oh, they didn't like how you write about the team.
Suing you?
I was like,
my god.
And there was just me like what, a few months in, and I just did like, what the hell? and then it came the next question, like what are you gonna do? And I was like, I guess I'll apologize, like but I just want to make it clear that I've watched it every single time. I've watched it many times, in fact. And if they want to sit down with me and go through the whole footage, I will gladly do so, because I'm 100% confident that what I saw and what I wrote was correct. But admittedly, I agree, some things could have worded better. I just started out. But defamation? Really?
Exactly.
They dropped it the day after. Because they were like, this guy was trash talking us. This guy was talking crap about us, like and he was making us look really bad. We have a reputation to keep. I was like, no, like you guys shoot a game, and that's final.
Yeah. We've been talking a lot about League of Legends, but you Husky, or all of us here we all cast many different titles, right? But for you personally, you cast Valorant, Wild Rift, Dota 2. Which one for you is the most challenging to cast?
Whoa, most challenging, huh? Yeah. I think Dota is probably the most challenging overall. Most challenging, most complicated. And because it was when I started Dota casting, it was a year after I started casting League. But I've been playing Dota since Dota 1. I think like this year clocks in like my 16th year or something. It was very complicated, but I think the challenge makes it really fun because of the intricacies. So when I got into League of Legends, it was easy for me to pick up a lot of the basic concepts because it does carry over. And I think like both games have their own nuances. But if I have to pick one, I think still Dota. As a game, and also as someone who cast it. Yeah,
Dota is just a completely different beast. I mean, just learning the game alone is.
I think it's really fun though. Like I think the most rewarding thing about Dota is that once you actually get a hang of something, it feels really rewarding. Yeah. Kind of like how in Valorant you practice some lineups, right? And then you get that lineup correct. It feels so rewarding and it pays off, right? You get this Molly lineup that wins you the round. You get this insane Sova dart that pings like 4 people. Like all these things. I think it's the same as Dota. Obviously, it's not something as flashy as sending out a utility to win a round, but it's more of knowing the fundamentals, right? It's all these like cam stacking, creep pull, creep block, last hit denies. It's very rewarding for those who get the hang of it, and it's really frustrating if you're on the receiving end of it. Like if you're laning into a losing matchup and the guy just denies your entire wave, and you're just like, I don't get go, I don't get XP. What do I do in my life? I guess I'll just go die. Like this kind of thing. Yeah, and it encourages. At some point, it does encourage you to die in lane, just to soak up pressure. Like the off laners, I don't really need much resources, and sometimes it's okay to die, right? So it tests like all these fundamentals, but it also pries your brain on like making decisions. Like, should I die here? Like, how do I work? I think vision game is, if I have to say, way more complicated. Well, I think way more is an overstatement. Just more complicated than League of Legends and WoW Rift, the vision game alone.
Agree.
It's a big map. It's a big map. I think I have 1,000 hours in Dota, and I don't know. I think until now I don't know a lot of things about it. It's like I just
that's the thing, right?
Yeah,
you can play for you can win 2 TIs and still have something you don't know about the game. Right. That's just how crazy it is. I think it's the same for League of Legends, for any other MOBAs out there, because of the sheer complexity and how vast it is, right?
Really?
Yeah, and then the meta shifts. I think like for Dota alone, I can name 10 things off the top of my head that other MOBAs probably don't have, or probably have, but just a few of it. Obviously, that was the era where people were comparing Dota to League of Legends. You know, it's like, oh, this game is better, but it's for me. I played both of them. I think they're both fun. It really comes down to what you want. It really comes down to what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, League is more newbie friendly.
That's true. That is
it's more colorful.
That is true. More colorful. Okay, I'm sensing a bit of bias here, Husky. But that's true. But I don't disagree. That is true. We're nearing the last parts of our podcast here. So, last questions for Husky here, Dash.
What can I say?
Yes,
do you have like a pet peeve when watching, one, for watching other casters, and two,
or working
for
with
your co-cast? Working with your co-cast.
Right. So pet peeve again, like towards co-casters, watching
co-caster
or watching
and
watching other casters,
watching other people cast, and also myself is that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Right.
Let's put that in.
Oh man, my pet peeve, I guess it's very simple. It's just be professional on set. Do your homework. I think my biggest pet peeve is people not doing their homework. I've had experience watching that. Have experience working with people who weren't as prepared as they should have been. And you can feel the difference. You can see the difference. And it's really frustrating, I think, on set. When you're working with someone who is just not prepared. You go into a test and you didn't study the night before. That's how it feels like, right? And I can.
It's like an exam with, you have a partner in your exam and your partner didn't study for it.
Because right now you are trying to carry your own weight, and then you are trying to spoon feed your partner. Yeah. And it's not to say that I don't like doing it. Listen, I don't mind doing it, but I think too much of it really. That's where it starts to get frustrating. I think a lot of casters also probably have that experience somewhere down the road, and they just don't like the feeling. Like I have some friends, some people that I'm friends with in real life, but when I work with them, if they don't do enough prep, I can feel it, and I will talk to them afterwards, because I think it's really important to be professional and be prepared. And that's something I have to learn the hard way across these years as well. Because I definitely wasn't the best. I think from a public figure standpoint, I've done a lot of stuff, said a lot of stuff that I think in this day and age would have gotten me removed. But I think I was very fortunate to have a support system that is willing to like sit me down and be like, hey, don't be an idiot, don't do this, and keep me in the game. Yeah. But obviously all of that comes with a price. I think that's a very big point of reflection for me. And it's also a pet peeve that I think I've been carrying it until now. Like when I watch my own cast, I'm very self-conscious. Even when I'm casting, like if I'm doing my job, I'm very self-conscious. If I stutter, if I say something wrong, if I miss out something, if I make a call and right afterwards I realize that, I could have done better than that. So I was very self-conscious, and I still am. And I think too much of it does affect me negatively. You start questioning yourself, like you start being less confident. So it took me a while to find that balance. So now after every cast, I will listen to the broadcast, maybe not the whole thing because it's like a couple of hours, but I will listen to like a specific game or a specific moment that I feel like that I want to listen to and see what I can learn. I will listen to other casters and see what I can learn from them, whether to do or whether not to do. I try to do more prep, try to do more practice. But yeah, I think all of this came with a price, especially like my conduct in these past few years. Like I burned some bridges. I've left bad taste in a lot of people's mouth that I'm still trying to repair. But obviously, you know, some things when they've happened, right?
Yeah.
And I just gotta accept the fact that I wasn't the best guy. So I think right now it's all about just being professional, just being ready and keep improving. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? You learn from your mistakes, and it's important to have that support system behind your back.
I think it's very, very hard. It's a very harsh lesson. I wish I didn't have to go through all of that. Like I always believe that you know, you live and you learn, but at the same time, I'm a guy that learns things the hard way. You know, like I would always think that, oh, this is fine, and then something bad happens. I'm like, oh my god, I should have done that. And that was true across the years. So yeah, and I believe that they are finally catching up to me, whether good or bad. So I just have to kind of deal with it in the correct way. You know, just move on from it, just be better, and hopefully things turn out great.
Yeah.
But obviously, wouldn't have happened without the support system I have. Whether it's my co-casters, whether it's my friends, whether it's, you know, the people I work with. Sometimes they see me go overboard and they're just like, hey, no, bad dog, you know, just don't do it. Like,
Yeah.
you're about to mess up, like you're messing up big time. You know, like here's a yellow card, you do it again, I'm gonna, you know, it's a red card and you're out, you know, that's the kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really nice to get that slap in the face every once in a while, right? But we're down to the last question here, Husky, and
I have my last.
my last. Yeah, you go first.
Before I give it to you. Okay. Last question, Husky. Do you have like an ultimate tip to beginner casters?
Yeah.
Or someone who wants to start out?
For me,
Well, I think
Just a one sentence tip if you have some.
one sentence, huh? Oh, okay. One sentence. It sounds very cliche.
One sentence, then explain if you want.
All right. Okay. Well. It's very cliche, but just do it. I believe that. First of all, so the reasoning for this is very straightforward. First of all, there's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You can try it out. If it's not for you, you can leave. If you want to come back, you can. Second of all, watching 10,000 people, 10,000 casts is not going to help you before you start casting. Like, you just have to try it out. Pull up a random VOD. It could be you with your friends. It could be a professional game. Mute the audio and just cast over it. You know, and of course, you know, connect with people, talk to them, and slowly learn from there.
Yeah.
I think that's the best, because there's no barrier of entry. Anyone can cast the game, but it's when you decide that, all right, I want to take this a step further, I want to be on camera, that's where, you know, you got to put in the effort. But if you just want to try out, then go ahead.
Yeah.
You know, there's no harm to it. And of course, just keep learning and overcome one of the biggest challenges that a lot of new faces face is listening to your own voice. You would hate it, but you got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. You just have to start doing it. I mean, I had no idea I could cast, but
I hated my voice for years.
Yeah, me too.
My voice is a bit more high pitched, especially on broadcast, right? So I don't have that deep bass that you know, people love listening to.
Loves.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
Hello,
so like
everyone.
every time I listen back then, I'm like, oh my god, I sound like something doesn't sound right. Like, I wish I had that voice, but you know. And then of course, over the years, I realized it's not about having a certain voice. Obviously, it does give you a minor edge, but it's how you use your voice.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that's really important as well.
Yeah.
Take care of your voice.
Okay, down to the last question here, Husky. So we started with how you got started in esports. It was a big decision back in 2020 to go full time. Now, what I'd like to ask you is, what is that next big decision going to be? Because I feel like things are starting to change back towards that norm. Lockdown slowly getting lifted, so there's a lot more options available for everyone. So what do you think is going to be the next big decision or big step for Husky?
I think what's always been on my mind is that the day that I decided to finish this casting journey, I would go behind the scenes and do production. It's something that I study in college. It's something that I'm very interested and passionate about. Other than that, probably do content, which is something that I've always wanted to do, but you know, I don't have the discipline to do it. So it's this tug of war between, I want to do it, but I'm so lazy. I want to sleep, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think other than that, it's just full-time casting. I think if there's anything, I want to count my blessings, and I want to do this for as long as I can, and build things up. Like even so, like if one day if I have to leave and all, I might not be the most popular and all of that, but I want to leave on a good note. I want to leave knowing that I have done all I can, and have no regrets. Yeah, I think that's the next big step.
That's nice. That's pretty nice. Any last plugs you want to give? And where can we see Husky next?
Well, you can follow me on my social media account at Husky HusKKIEE on Instagram, on Twitter. I do stream on Twitch, but I don't stream often enough, so you can ignore that. But yeah, just follow me on social media. I am active, but I don't post much. Well, not as much. It would be great if you guys give it a follow. and of course, I think keep growing, keep learning, stay humble, be professional.
Yeah. Well, that's it for our episode this week. Husky, ladies and gents, make sure to follow his socials, guys. He is everywhere. He's at every esports event out there. Again, this is Nightfall with Dash, Dadum, and our guest Husky. See you guys again in the next one. Until then, subscribe. Bye-bye.